Welcome back to For the Home Cook. My name is Cheryl, and the whole point of this process is to help us save a little bit of money on our grocery bill. I know that prices are going up. Sometimes our budgets aren't always going up. And of course, we're getting into the summer months, which means that those kids are going to be home. They're going to be hungrier more than normal, and then you're going to have to feed them. So why not do that with also reducing your grocery bill? So today we are talking about meals that are between $5 and $7. So I know a few weeks ago we did $10 meals, and those are great. But then I thought, well, what if $10 is too much for somebody? You're in between paychecks, or maybe you just don't have the budget for that. So here are some ideas that are going to get us in between that $5 and $7 range. And then depending on what products that you get, that can either raise or lower that amount. So I've got 3 recipes I'm going to share with you today. These are so simple, and yet I think sometimes we forget that simple is better, and simple is something that we can do at home. So when you're looking at those low-cost meals, the things that you need to look out for are going to be pasta, ground beef, beans, rice. All of those things are going to be low cost. So what I have here on this one is some beef chorizo. Now, I know in some recipes when you look at lasagna, it takes ground beef. Ground beef is fine, but ground beef is also at its cheapest, about $4.50 for a pound. So in this, we're going to use beef chorizo instead. It's, I think, like $1.67, way cheaper than what you're going to use for actual ground beef. And so I've cooked that off. And then just like this package, so this is a 4-cheese lasagna pasta skillet dinner. So think Hamburger Helper, but in lasagna form. So we're going to do that. Then you can drain this if you want to. The beef chorizo, it's going to be mostly grease. Let's just be honest here. That's what makes it delicious. So we're not going to drain this off. But we are going to stir in 1 3/4 cup of hot water. We're also going to add in the same amount of milk. I brought my milk from home. I feel like I almost got the perfect amount, which never ever happens. So we're going to add in 1 3/4 cup of milk as well. And then we're also going to add in our pasta. And let's see here. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to add in our seasoning as well. Now, what I like about these meals is this one was under $2. So depending on what type of protein you get to add in here, this is not going to take a lot of time. I think this takes 15 to 20-ish minutes from start to finish. But you're going to get something like if you tried to make lasagna, that's a lot of effort. It's a lot of ingredients. And sometimes can take a lot of time. So this can get you that lasagna flavor, that lasagna meal, without having to invest in actually going out and getting all the ingredients to do so. And you can zhuzh this up as much as you want. So once we get done with this, I'm gonna, serve it with some Italian bread, or you could really serve this with whatever you wanted. But this is gonna make a good amount of food without having to spend a lot of money. So like I said, the chorizo was about $2. This box here was under $2, so $5. I think all together with this, it cost me about, I think, $6.50 to $7. I'll have all of the totals below once you watch this video, so you can kind of decipher if this is going to be good for you or not. So with this, we're going to heat to boiling, we're going to stir, and then once it gets up to boiling, we're going to reduce that heat. We're going to simmer, cover it, and then simmer it for about 12 minutes. So I don't know what fell, but there you go. I also love this because this is something that you can make up once you get home. If you forgot and you have all these ingredients on hand, it's not going to take you a lot of time to actually make that meal. Now, this over here, I have some ground beef that was cooked for about 6 minutes more than you normally should, but we're going to pretend like that adds flavor. So what I did here is, this is a 73/27 ground beef. It's not my favorite type of beef, and if you've watched my videos before, I like the 90/10 beef, but not everyone can budget for 90/10 beef. Now, if you were to buy in bulk, like we talked about a few weeks ago, then this is going to significantly drop your grocery bill this week, because we already have our ground beef, and now we're not stuck having to get the more affordable 73/27 because we bought that 90/10 or that 80/20 that 93.7, whatever you bought a few weeks ago. So with this, we're gonna make Sloppy Joes. I know what you're thinking, Sloppy Joes, the thing that we ate growing up. Yes, just because we ate it growing up doesn't mean that we can't eat it now when we are grown-up adults, or for the kids. What I like about this one was always what I call like a struggle meal, or a low budget meal, because the ingredients are pretty cheap. Especially if you go to the store, they have this can of Sloppy Joe. It's called Sloppy Joe sauce. I know you can make this from scratch. If you have the tomatoes, if you have all those ingredients, go ahead and do so. But this was, I think, 96 cents. And so when we got 96 cents, the ground beef was the most expensive part. And I think it was just under $5. And then the buns were only like $1.50. So this one was a little bit more than $5. It was closer to the $7 mark. And that just depends on what ingredients do you have. So if we would have already had our ground beef, that saves us $5. So we have $1.47. We have $1 for that. If you bought some cheese, maybe that's $2. So we're only up to about $2 making this meal. So ground beef, cook it up, add whatever you want. You can add onions, you can add garlic, and then we'll put in that sauce. Now I will tell you with Sloppy Joes, this is a great opportunity to add in vegetables. And what I mean by that is, especially a lot of younger kids, they may look at vegetables like, bell pepper and onion and be like, ooh, it's gross. I don't want to use that. I don't want to eat that. I don't like vegetables. Perfectly understandable. What you can do is put those in a mini chopper or chop them up super, I'm talking like almost liquid, super small. And you can put those in here, mix them up, either cook them with your ground beef or add them in afterward. And then because you have all this great sauce, you're gonna cover up all of those vegetables so that your kids hopefully will not see them. You can do the same thing if you're making meatloaf. If you chop them small enough in your little mini chopper, you're gonna get it so small that it kind of just melts into the ground beef. And then now all of a sudden, you can make things healthier than you normally would if you have those picky kids. So once again, this meal over here to my left costs about $7, and that's just dependent on what you buy, kind of all those ingredients. If you have like milk at home, you'll save yourself about $2. If you have, bread at home, or if you take out the bread, that's gonna save you about $1. But a pretty cheap meal going in at about $7, and this is gonna feed, 4 to 5 people, or 4 to 5 servings. This one in the middle, like we talked about, Sloppy Joes. This one is so simple, and you can zhuzh this up to however you like. If you wanna make a sauce from scratch, I'm not a huge fan of Sloppy Joe's sauce, because it just sounds weird, or the name brand, the Manwich and all that kind of stuff. That's basically ketchup based. It's gonna be tomato based. So you can even just look up your own recipe if you have some leftover cans of tomato sauce, tomato paste, crushed up tomatoes, things like that. You could probably make your own sauce if you have those ingredients at home, but a good option, especially if you already have ground beef at home, to go ahead and cook that up, get a can, it's only $1. Your buns are only $1.47. And make something that's really simple. You can pair that with some vegetables, you can pair that with some chips. All of those things are still going to make it affordable. Now the last one that I have, there is no recipe to this. I remember growing up and eating this quite often. There's not a name for it, there's not a recipe. It's literally what I'm about to tell you: chili, rice, beans. So when we talked at the beginning of this, I said there are some items that you really want to focus on if you're looking for those budget-friendly meals. Pasta is so cheap. If you're getting a protein pasta, or a wheat pasta or gluten-free pasta, those sorts of things, you're gonna obviously pay a little bit more. But when we look at pasta, pasta is so cheap, and you can mix it into a lot of different things. So look for pasta recipes. Look for vegetables. Most vegetables are going to be super cheap when you look at carrots and zucchini, squash, cucumbers, those sorts of things, celery. For the most part, a lot of those vegetables are going to be really cheap, and so you can add those into a pasta. Look at a bunch of pasta salads, those sorts of recipes. You can also make a lot of great sauces that are going to be cost efficient. So look for your pastas, look for rice dishes, look for beans that you can add into. So ranch style beans, pinto beans, black beans, red beans, kidney beans, navy beans, any of the beans that you can find, those are also going to be very, very affordable. So chili rice and beans is exactly what it sounds like. So I got some white rice, 92 cents for a bag. It's gonna make at least, I think, 6 servings, which is about a half a cup of rice. I don't even think I have that right here. This is about a quarter cup of rice. It's gonna make a great base for what we have. Now, when we talk about chili, I'm talking like hot dog chili that you find at the store. I am somewhat of a snob when it comes to brands. But if you're looking at saving some money, your store brand is going to be the cheapest. So I think this can that I bought was, I think, like $1.14. I have the brand that I like, and it costs right around $2. So like I said before, depending on what ingredients that you get, it's going to dictate what the price is on this. So if you want to go cheapest as possible, I think this meal altogether with the cheapest ingredients costs like $4. It was like $3.50 to $4, and you're probably going to feed at least 2 to 3 people with just the basics. So what I have here is just a can of chili. It's, you know, the off-brand, and I'm just heating it up. And then when we talk about beans, so I'm a ranch style bean girl, always have been. What I found though is that they have a brand, it's the Bush's Pinto, or it's, yeah, the Bush's ranch style pinto beans. They're only $1. So I've saved myself about 20 cents getting these instead of getting the ones that I normally get. But what I like about this is that these ranch style beans, or these pinto beans, have jalapeno in them. So if you like spicy foods, you're gonna be able to get that spicy food without having to go off and buy some jalapenos. So that's what I like about this. Now, like I said, I grew up with this meal. It's what I call my struggle meal. There's nothing to it. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a great way to add in some ingredients that are on the cheaper side that we can put into a big bowl. It's going to be filling because you're going to have that rice. You're going to have, you know, a little bit of the beef, or the beans and the beef that are in the chili. And then of course you have the beans, which are going to be cost effective and delicious. Now, if you're like me and you like cheese, let's go ahead and add some cheese on top. Cheese right now seems to be on sale, the shredded cheese. So great opportunity to go ahead and get some cheese, add some on top. And then if you're looking for a side, one of the things that I really love, especially in the wintertime, is gonna be beans and cornbread. It's one of my favorite cold weather and cheap dishes. The thing with cornbread though is, especially if you make it from a package, you're going to need eggs, you're going to need milk. So what I have found is that they have cornbread where all you need is water. So this one that I bought here, there's about 2 or 3 brands that are a just add water. So this one, 3/4 cup of water, heat the oven to 400, combine, bake for 7 to 8 minutes. If you have a cornbread recipe that you love, you can go ahead and make that. What I like about this is a buttermilk cornbread. And once again, we're just adding water. So yeah, you will have some leftover milk, or if you have milk at home, you can do that. If you have eggs at home, this is a great opportunity to make a cornbread and mix that up. But not everyone wants to go buy eggs or can afford eggs. So it's a great opportunity to make cornbread without having to get all of the extra ingredients. Now, I am going to try not to burn myself, move that out of the way. And then this, you do it for about 12 minutes, stir occasionally. After 12 minutes, we'll turn it off and we'll let everything set for about 5 to 6 minutes. So you can see, especially here on the edges, that is that grease from the chorizo. Not all chorizos are the same, so not all of them are gonna be super, super greasy. The one that I got, which is on the cheaper side, does have a little bit of grease. If that bothers you, you can drain some of that off. Like I said, this chorizo is mostly grease, so you're not gonna get too much of that off without taking away from what you have here. What I like about using the chorizo instead of ground beef is it's affordable, and it's also going to give you a different flavor. You can absolutely use ground beef if you have that with you. You can also look for maybe some Italian sausage and brown that up instead, and then do that instead of what we have here. But going back to our price points. So this meal cost me about $7. This pasta dish right here. This one in the middle cost me about $5 total. Actually, it's a little bit more than that because we had 5 for the ground beef, 5, 6, 7. This one was about $8. But once again, you will take the cost off of that if you already have your ground beef. So this one was about $8, a little bit above that $7 price. And then this one cost me under $5. And this one is, you could double this and still have a $10 meal. You could double it and actually have less than a $10 meal. But these are all great ways to kind of implement some very cost-effective items in the grocery store. And it doesn't have to be for the rest of your life or the rest of the month where you eat like this, but maybe 1 or 2 days a week, switch to those items, those recipes that are going to be cheaper, just to save on that grocery bill, especially as we get into, you know, these summer months. Kids are going to be home, things are getting more expensive, our budgets aren't getting bigger, and this is a great way to kind of implement those savings into our grocery bill by doing some meals that are based in items that are very, very cheap. So we're going to serve these up, but I will see you next time as we go throughout this journey trying to save some money on our grocery bill. I've got some tips, some tricks, and some recipes to help you get there. But for now, we will go. We'll see you next time.